Indeed, let's move on and celebrate your music work. I mean, I know you're also a musician in addition to the writing you do and the being a music scene journalist of sorts. How when did you start? What do you play? What's that part look like?
I mean, guitar is my main instrument, but I do, like, in the last, well, quite some time now, I've been really kind of getting involved in various sort of production and using synths and kind of just really manipulating all sorts of different studio sounds and things like that. So it's just yeah, it's always, I find it hard to describe. You say producer, but it's like, what does that mean? But it's like, I just basically use a lot of digital technology to create different sounds that then I can use to make music. But yeah, I've been in like lots of different sort of musical projects over the years. I'm currently working on one which yeah, like with everything with musically, the last 10% takes longer than the entire first 90% of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting there. But yeah, I've always kind of had a soft spot for, kind of very like intensive sort of music. Not like intense, like, metal and things like that, but just more stuff that's like very energetic, very sort of like upbeat and that sort of thing. Something that really kind of like connects with me, whether that's punk, electronic, whether that's some sort of rock music. God, I don't even know where to begin with genres these days, because everything is just a mismatch nowadays, which is beautiful. Everyone should just pull from everywhere. That's what I say. But yeah, I love making music. I've been in multiple bands, and I'm always kind of like looking to make more.
Very cool. And I love I loved when I was young. Like, I was a young musician also. I'm a drummer, and so I got to play with a couple of bands around high school, early college and stuff. And it's such a cool thing to experience as you're like sort of coming into adulthood. Like, I wish everybody got to have a little bit of that experience. Find the local music scene and see all the cool stuff that goes on there. Like, just see how much creativity there is wherever you live. Almost anywhere you could go, there are people doing like weird and wonderful things. And then there's stuff that's like very, mass appeal style, like people who are very talented, who are clearly going to do well. It's fun to cross paths with those people and sort of getting into like production, like you said. For me, I mean, that's just anything it takes to get the thing done is production work. And later when I found sort of game development and the game industry stuff, they use the same term the same way. It's like production work is anything that needs to get done between the people who do the specific creative things and the finish line. Like, that's all production is being the glue, I guess. But it's such a cool thing. Like, it's just learning how to make it work, basically, which is a neat thing.
Yeah.
So,
I think that, like with a lot of instruments and kind of music, it's about kind of finding the way to realize the thing that you want. And when I'm a teenager, I just had a guitar and just distortion pedals and a microphone, and then just 4-piece bands sort of thing. That was what spoke to me. That's what I kind of wrote, and that's what made sense. But then, like, as technology's moved on and, having a background in IT as well, it means that I've really enjoyed kind of like playing around with different synth sounds, just manipulating different things that way. And you just suddenly realize it's like, wow, look at all these things you can do with this. And it's limitless, or just actually a little bit crippling, because you're kind of like, oh my God, I've got too much I can do. I can never stop playing with these things. But yeah, and also like with what you were saying about just, that you wish that everyone had kind of would go and just experience this and just be around that creativity. I mean, I remember growing up in the town that I grew up in South Wales, and I was in a lot of bands, and like, for a lot of years of my life, I was like, this is the thing I want to do. I want to make it, put everything into becoming like, a big, rich, famous musician. I'll make it work. And here we are. But like another time, I remember, like, I was in lots of different bands. I was always trying to find other different, things which I could get involved in, and just, always looking for that big thing. And one thing that always bothered me, and I always used to think, was like such a telling thing of what a dead end town I came from, was that, like, there was so much of a focus on metal. There was so much just metal and so many different bands and just so many like people who, it's like you got within like a meter, and I'm like, oh my God, I can smell you so much. much. This is not me. I cannot do this. I need to kind of distance myself. And yeah, and I just kind of like thought, oh, what are we doing here? What is this? This is Bridgend South Wales. Anyway, long story short, like 2 of those bands, one of them is Bullet for My Valentine, and one of them is Funeral for a Friend. Both came from my hometown. Both were in scenes around that time, and I was kind of like, huh. So I guess I was wrong there.
That's fantastic because here in the greater St. Louis, Missouri area, we who were the bands who we kind of were around the scene with? There was Story of the Year came from here for sure. And they've done fine. I mean, like, I haven't really kept up with them, but like I felt the same way at the time when I was like 17 or 18. It was like every show we played, there would be 2, maybe 3 metal bands, 1 or 2 punk bands, and then we tried to like fill this gap in the middle where we were inspired by like there'd be a little bit of Incubus, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and just a different vibe, like a little more laid back and a little funky once in a while and stuff. And it was like, I don't know how to survive here. It's like, first of all, we can barely survive the crowd after our set. It's like, what do you even do? But it was still fun. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, there is a complication as well. It's funny as well, like, looking back, and it's like, as time went on, I got more and more involved in kind of like, what actually does sort of, get people interested in what we're doing. And like with the Neon Highwire, a band I was involved with for quite a number of years, it's like, I remember towards the end, I was just got so sort of hung up on this idea of kind of like, what is it that people are kind of into about this? How do we get more sort of exposure, coverage, and things like this? And you start just like really focusing on, well, the wrong things for happiness and creativity. But yeah, it was amazing how it's like so much of this comes down to like your story, like as an artist, as a musician, as whatever it is that you're doing. This and I say this because I know that I experienced it as a listener as well, is that it's all about kind of, what is there about this that kind of is interesting? It's kind of like, hey, look, there's four kind of white guys. They're just making music with guitars. It's kind of like, yes, we know this happens. We know how this happens. We know what's going on with that. This has been done. There is nothing even vaguely exciting about that. But then you kind of like get into things like, I mean, like I remember Bon Iver and his debut album, and just like his going to the cabin for on his own for 6 months or whatever it was after the breakup of his girlfriend, and just wrote these songs, and he came, he's an artist out of nowhere, and suddenly there's all of this. And there's a lot more to it. It's not just some random person who then like uploaded it onto onto Bandcamp or something and went like, oh, my job is done, now I'll become successful. There is more to kind of that point. But it is like really important to have these sorts of stories and things like this. I'm probably like the extreme person of this who kind of like seems to understand this better than anyone else right now is Kanye West. Who, love him or hate him. And, I love his earlier stuff, but I find it harder and harder over the years to defend anything that he's doing. But, like I've got to say, even with all of that, and even with the fact that I haven't liked any music he's made in 10 years now, it's just like, Jesus Christ, man, it's a long time. But it's, I couldn't help but get caught up in the whole circus of this latest album that Don does, like listening parties in stadiums, and just thinking, it's just so ridiculous. But at the same time, here I am, kind of like looking at the Instagram account, going like, what's he done now? And I'm there, I'm in on it, and it's just like, it's just, it's human nature, I guess. It's like the musical equivalent of clickbait, It's really.
They definitely captured that same formula and kind of put it in our ears, which is impressive. And I feel the same way. Like back when he was kind of hanging out with Jay-Z a little bit and stuff, I was like, yeah, I got sort of a soft spot for this. I kind of like this stuff. And now it's like, I can't keep up, but good for him. It's like, keep on doing what you're doing. Like it's clearly he's maybe a little bit of a tortured individual, and I'm glad to see him functioning and doing well. And I certainly hope the best for him, because the more I hear, the more concerned I get. But he seems like he's doing okay for now. So
yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
There's sort of an element in I guess music and comedy from the looks of it, where if you're someone who kind of has your act together, you're an organized person, like there comes a point when you start sort of maybe kind of running the scene also. Like you sort of start being a bit of the organizer just in your immediate area, you know, like I've heard you're involved in like putting some events together and stuff too, right?
Yeah. That's right. It's a really hard balance, that one, because I think that much in the same way as like people who, you know, if you really want to learn to hate something, you know, get a job in it, you know, like spend all of your waking hours kind of like dealing with it, not just dealing with the part that you like, but all the things around the fringes and things like that as well. And yeah, I mean, it's always been a tough thing, is because it's always been like because I guess I'm a bit of my character will naturally sort of want to get involved with improving things,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And over time, you start to notice more and more of those things, and you get involved in the like, oh, we could do this better, you know, oh, we could do this better. But, you know, it takes, the more energy you put into that, the less that you have in whatever the creative thing is, you know? So suddenly you're kind of like, you know, you like even at some point during lockdown with the whole improv group that I'm a part of, and I'm like, you know, and I'm like having meetings about the website and how we're doing social media stuff and all this sort of thing. And I'm just like got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? I have another job now. I'm like, all of the fun things gone out of this because it's, you know, it's lockdown and all that. And now I'm just like, yeah, I've just kind of gone too deep into this and I had to like consciously back off. But yeah, I do feel like when you really try to throw yourself into something more than just say like, you know, the basic basic, more than just the creative endeavor of it, the making the thing, it is easy to kind of get completely sidetracked from what it is that attracted to you in the first place. You know, you really kind of, it's so easy to get like caught up in particular details or the stuff which, you know, perhaps it'll help whatever you do become like a little bit more popular or get into the eyes of other people, but it doesn't really help you kind of do the thing that you love doing and getting more time to do that thing. And yeah, it's a balance, and it's something which I tend to find myself having to sort of like reset things every now and again, because I just, you know, I just naturally find myself slipping and slipping and slipping, and sometimes I just have to draw, you know, just stop and say, okay, enough. I'm doing nothing. Nothing is being shared. I just need to just do the thing that I like doing with no context and no end goal, and enjoy it again.
That's so funny you say that, because I feel exactly that way. I feel like I almost have this annual purge I have to do where I find like 3 or 4 things that are taking up a ton of my time. Like, how did I end up helping this guy edit this site for free where I just wanted to contribute like one article? Like, just, and there's a couple of different versions of that, but I feel like certain people, this stuff sticks to them like glue, and I think it's because of a certain capability. I'm not saying that in my case, but probably in yours. You're capable, you know what's going on, you've been around the scene for a while, and things latch on to you because you can take care of them. You're a problem solver, and after a while, you have to just kind of cut stuff off, or you're not going to make it to work the next day. You know, it's just, you're going to be up all night dealing with whatever it is, but it sounds like you've struck a decent balance. It sounds like you're doing well, so good for you.
I think so. The pandemic kind of helped with the moment of just like going, hey, how about if I take all of these things away from you and now work out what it is that you do.
Yeah, everybody take these things back. But so, well, time flew right by. This was not one of those things where I ran out of anything. So, but as we sort of bring it home, why don't you let people know where they can find you, what the best places to look, and the things you're up to?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Facebook. I'm Stephen Morgan Hero. Yeah, you know, like I didn't want to associate myself with one thing, and you have to come up with a username, deal with it. On Instagram, MA0SM, doesn't make any sense. Twitter, I'm Flavardit, doesn't make any sense. I'm also on YouTube. People looking for Harris Handfuls Parish Council content can go there. And yeah, I'm part of Easy Laughs in Amsterdam, who are an improv group. Easy Laughs Amsterdam, easy enough to find on various social media. Real Power Talk, we talked about Real Power Talk TV on all different social media. And yeah, those are probably the main things. Yeah, so just like them all, and like all of my posts and things like that, and yeah, that'll do me.
That sounds great, and we'll be watching for the next super viral thing so we can have you back on and
Yeah.
sort of dissect it afterward.
Yeah, it'll be the last thing I think it is.